Hello, I'm Greg with Brownlow Rights. Today we're doing something that I do pretty frequently in the spring, and that's going to shoot some prairie dogs. And this is a part of prairie dog shooting that just isn't very glamorous and doesn't get talked about a lot, but driving. Driving is something that you have to do if you want to go out and hunt, and prairie dogs are no different. So that means I've got to drive. I've got to drive to find the towns. I've got to drive to the towns, bring all my gear to the towns. And so that means hopping in the pickup or the side-by-side and taking a nice leisurely drive. I really enjoy driving out here where I live. There's just a huge abundance of wildlife. And then too, driving gives me an opportunity to just think and reflect about things. And so I can not only absorb the wonderful scenery and look at all the wildlife, but I can have some time to myself and think about new inventions, think about friends. There's the first one of the day. Number two. And there's another one. Ooh, that second one got blasted hard. One thing I really like about the Hawkins Precision Hunter DBM here, with the flush magazines installed, the mags, especially for, like, this is the 223 magazines. These are the magazines that just came out, and I've been using these in my 223 Ackley. Well, those of us that live in the land of the free, we can shoot out the window of our pickups, and just throwing a nice bag up here on the window, and then these mags, they don't stick out past the bottom of a rail. So you can shove these things out the window on a bag and just basically shove them right all the way to the trigger guard. And that's pretty cool, because when you're shooting out the window, you don't want to be stuck way back in here like this. A lot of times, you'd like to just get up forward and get your arm on top of the scope and be able to get a nice solid shot made. And there's a difference between just quickly throwing it over top the mirror and shooting a running coyote or something like that, than there is trying to hit something the size of a prairie dog at several hundred yards. It's different, and you need a much more stable setup when you're going to be doing that. 260 yards. That should be pretty much the same exact hold. There he is. Ooh. Solid hit there. These things, they have their comfort level and their standoff distance. There's just piles of them out there at about 500 yards and beyond. They just really don't seem to care about what's going on outside of that range. I know that they can see that far because initially when you pull into the town, they scatter when you're shooting out the window of a pickup like this, the 500-yard shot on a prairie dog is very challenging with 20 caliber. The 20 cal just doesn't offer you quite enough forgiveness in the condition, and you can't feel as much of the condition as when you're inside the pickup as you can if you were out there. And so, there's a limitation to the shots that you can make in this kind of position. With something like 22 BRA, which is a favorite of mine for quality varmint shooting, you can probably push that out to 600, 650, maybe even 700 yards, making shots like this. There's a certain ballistic advantage that you need to have to overcome an unseen condition. So slight shift in the wind vector or slight shift in intensity, a ballistically superior cartridge can overcome that, whereas shooting a tiny 20 caliber and then fire forming load, which is slow by design, it just is a little too much. So I'll oftentimes be patient. I'll just sit here and wait, and usually after 10-15 minutes, they'll get acclimated to my presence in the town, or I should say the presence of this big pickup sitting here, and they'll start showing themselves in that 250 to 350 yard range. And that's a cartridge like this, it will hit in that range with authority, and it's ballistically capable enough at that distance to where I can very consistently make hits. I hate wasting ammo. If I'm going to shoot, I expect to be able to make a hit. Oh, that's about a half a mil for wind. I tagged him. Wind was perfect. There's a lot of people that they would be making a shot like that, and they would have decided to hold 5/10, and that's what they'd have done. They'd have got on there, and they'd have because they made the decision, they just are going to stick with that. And I got the crosshair on the prairie dog, and it just didn't feel right. 5/10 didn't feel right. I was watching and I was looking at the condition, and it just wasn't saying 5/10 anymore, despite the fact that I said it out loud even. I kind of decided that's where I was going to be. I have a much more spiritual process, and I don't like to just arbitrarily decide. The final moment right before I'm going to execute the shot, I generally let that be whatever it's going to be. I don't try to manipulate it. I trust my instincts. A lot of people will call it instincts, right? I think it comes from somewhere else, to be honest. While I think it may be somewhat instinctual and built in us, and that brings us to the ultimate thing, like, okay, well, what is instinct? Where does it come from? Those feelings that we have, where does that come from? And it's said that we're all made in the image of God. And so if you're a Christian, that means God has come to dwell within you. God has come to live in you. And I think the stronger you are in your walk in faith, your walk with Christ, I think that your instinctual ability to perform acts in the world becomes greater also. And kind of in keeping with that, what I'm doing out here today is celebrating the life of a friend of mine. And there is no greater gift in this world, I don't think, than if you can spend time with and have conversations with someone that is just as excited or even more excited than you are about the thing that you're talking about. That's something that is really off limits to the modern worldly population. To have a genuine connection, a genuine human interaction, that is a fantastic reward in and of itself. But then to share experiences with someone, folks, I don't have much in the way of super genuine friends like that. It takes quite a lot for people to become my friend. They have to act like friends for quite a long time before I would consider them a genuine friend. And one of my very genuine friends, John, has passed on and went to be with the Lord. Well, we didn't get to shoot prairie dogs together as much as here I wanted. We did get to share a lot of very genuine conversation about it. And what an amazing blessing that was. And this is one of those times where it's difficult, because as a Christian, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I'm supposed to feel joy and happiness that John has went on to be with the Lord. I knew John for a few years, and obviously it started off just casually. We just had a similar interest, and then it turned into something different. We started talking about all kinds of things that weren't related even to guns. And while precision rifles and prairie dog shooting was a common topic, we talked about faith a lot. And John came to know the Lord in the last couple of years, and it was a frequent topic of discussion. And I'm so blessed and proud to have been able to be a part of his life in that way. And while I know as a Christian what I'm supposed to do, and be very happy that he's went on to be with the Lord, and I am, because his troubles are over, folks. I mean, there's nothing left for him to worry about. But as a Christian, it's one of those times where we're supposed to do as we're commanded to do, regardless of how we feel. And because there's that small human part of me that wants to feel sadness and loss, and I want to dwell on that, and just sit and be sad. And we're commanded not to do that. We're commanded to think only about all of the wonderful, great things, and the fact that where he's at now in heaven is so unbelievably good that we can't even imagine how good it is. We lack the intellect or the ability to understand just how good he has it now. But it illustrates the importance of doing as we're told, and not giving way to the worldly human aspects of things, where sitting around and being sad about this would do nothing. It would do nothing. Now, the feeling is there from time to time, but there's a lot of guidance in the Bible about feeling. And it says, be angry, but do not sin, right? And there's also guidance, I think, if you look at some of the parables and the way that Jesus acted towards death. He really was fairly irreverent toward death, with the exception of you should be spending every waking moment leading your life in such a way to ensure that you're going to go to the right place when you get to the end of it. And if you're a follower of Christ, well, then what we're supposed to do in these situations is very plain to us, and it's only that small worldly aspect that would try to lead us astray. Well, really, there's only just the loss of the sadness that I'm not going to get to have those conversations with him the way that I've had the last few years, and I'm not going to be able to spend time with him here. And so it's the selfish aspect of us as Christians that makes us sad and makes us miss what's going on. But the Christian aspect of this is very plain in that it's not just that he's not here. It's that he's not here, and because of his relationship with Christ, has gone to the best place possible, and not for some vacation or some short amount of time. He's there forever. And that is cause for excitement. That is cause for joy. That's cause for celebration. That's something we should all be striving toward. When people that we cared about, and this is often the more important aspect, that we know cared about us, die, the most important part for us is to acknowledge that we're the ones left, and they are gone to this wonderful place, and we don't have to worry about them anymore. So let's not be selfish. Let's not be small. Let's not be petty. Let's be great. Let's be grand. Let's honor those people that are not in our lives anymore that we know cared about us. And let's make sure that we don't spend any time giving weight to the sadness and the the stupidity and the pointlessness of letting 1 minute of our lives pass with anything but joy and thankfulness in our heart for having been able to spend the time with them that we did and have the experiences with them that we did. And then let that be a guide that allows us to look at our current relationships with those people that are genuine and truly do care about us, and that we truly do care about. Let that experience be a guide to bring those people closer, to focus on being able to spend time with them. We get to choose who we've got in our lives. We get to choose how we live our lives. And so what a miraculous blessing that is. And don't squander it. Spend the time. Now, John and I both absolutely loved shooting prairie dogs, and the amount of happiness I could see on his face when we were out here doing it is something that I'll probably think about for the rest of my life while I'm out here doing it. And so, what a wonderful blessing. So as I sit here in the middle of the prairie in my pickup with one of my newest precision rifles poked out the window, that's what I'll think about. I'll think about just how wonderful this life is, and what an amazing blessing it is to have found Christ, and through him have found other people that believe likewise. And there may be just precious few of those people in my life that behave in a truly genuine way, in a trustworthy way. But that's fine. It's not about quantity, folks. It's about quality. And my friend John was one of the highest quality people that I have met in my life. So God bless you all, and I hope this message finds you well. And get out there and live your lives, folks.